The Writer's Dossier Podcast is a proud member of the Authors on the Air Global Radio Network.
I'm Gene Koon, and this is my Writer's Dossier.
No writers were harmed in the production of this podcast.
Hey, everybody. Hi, this is Jeff Circle back with the Writer's Dossier Podcast. You're coming here live to the Writer's Dossier Podcast Studio, Broadcast Hub, Writer's Room, and occasional speakeasy, which is very appropriate today. If you look behind my shoulder, if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see the wine racks. I have on the show for you a certified wine guy. His name is Gene Koon, and he's the author of Another Try. Gene, thanks for joining the Writer's Dossier.
Thank you, Jeff. I really appreciate being on your show. You know, I've watched the clips, I watched the videos, and you're a champion of new guys like me. So I really appreciate being here.
Well, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Everyone can catch this episode at thewritersdossier.com and YouTube. Watch the video because we throw up some graphics and have a lot of fun there. But I really want people to get to know you. And the way to do that is to go to your dossier. You've answered you've answered really well with your responses to some really goofy questions, which is what I'm kind of known for the dossier. But you did a great job. So thanks for taking the time to do that. And here I want to go a little deeper with some of those questions, and we get right at it here at the dossier. And I didn't mention to you beforehand that we kind of fly through this episode before you know it. You're going to be like, what just happened? Because we keep this down to commute time. Listeners can throw this on in the car, and when they want to follow up, they'll just go to YouTube or go to thewritersdossier.com and find out even more about you. So I want to hear about so many things. We're going to start with your book, Another Try, and the thing that stood out to me about Another Try was a picture you sent me of you hanging out with Jeffery Deaver, and you got this amazing quote for your book. I can't tell you how many debut authors would die for something like that. So Another Try must be fantastic. Tell me what Deaver said, and what was it that got his attention to think that, yeah, I want to put my name and associate this with Gene Koon. That's huge. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. No, I met Jeffery Deaver years ago. I worked in the Hague, and at the time I was doing the war crime trials, and he was in Amsterdam on a book tour, and I went because I'm a huge fan of his. I mean, I've read everything since, way back when. I was on a plane and I picked up The Bone Collector because of the cover, and it's like I was hooked ever since. Had to go back, read everything else, and during his intermission of his book event, I went up and introduced myself, and he said, "Well, you're an American. What are you doing over here?" And he had mentioned that Milošević. That was the week Milošević had passed away. He had died, and I just said, "Well, funny, I directed the Milošević trial," and we just kind of struck up a conversation, and we've kept in touch. And I wasn't writing at the time, but I saw what he did. I got, I could follow him, and I went to more book events, and he's just, he is who he is. When you see him speak, he's just down to earth. He's just a great guy. Well, all the thriller authors that I've met are just down to earth, and they are who they are. And it just made me like, I had a story inside of me, and you got to write one. You've got to do this. He just a supportive guy, most supportive guy you've ever met in your life. So when it came time to look at, what I did, he looked at it and made some comments, and he looked at it again. And, he didn't give me, he didn't write the blurb right off the bat. It took a few another tries to get there. So, but eventually.
I see what you did there. He said, "I love this novel. Another Try grabs you on the first page and never lets go." And that's good for you. Man,
thank you.
It's fantastic. I mean, have Jeffery Deaver kind of take you under his wing a little bit and help you out with that. That's amazing, especially for your first book. And Another Try, the cover, we talked about that a little bit. Folks, you need to go to YouTube. Look on the screen right now. You'll see the cover up there of Another Try. Gives you just enough from the cover to kind of get an idea of what's going on in this book. There's a wine glass and all kinds of stuff. So,
well, let me just say, A lot of covers are covers and they're there to grab to get your attention. This cover, it actually makes sense for a key scene in the book.
Mm-hmm.
So it actually, if when you read the book, you're going to go, that's the cover right there.
That's it right there. Well, give us the elevator pitch, a little bit about this book. I'm wearing my Office of Strategic Services t-shirt here.
Yes.
I love goofy, fun t-shirts for the podcast and the precursor to the CIA. You have a CIA angle in here. So tell us a little bit about what's going on in Another Try and your main character, Garris Kelly.
Okay. So the book starts off with a senator and his adult son taking the MAX transit train in Portland from the airport to a campaign rally in downtown Portland, when an active shooter hops on, shoots a few people, including the senator's son. As the train arrives at the square in downtown Portland, Garris Kelly happens to be there, and he's my main character. He's a CIA who just that week was sort of his cover was blown by the president. So now he's almost a celebrity. Everybody knows he's a CIA operative.
Yes.
So it's like now, and he's kind of like discovering, okay, is this going to work for me or against me? He's going to use it. There's there's some humor in there along the way, because can you imagine if also during that time, it's known that the way it was discovered is the president, let it loose on social media that he's an operative, but also because he knocked off a drug cartel.
There you go.
So now the king, they know where he's at because he just, showed up in Portland. So that's kind of where we're at with that.
Yeah, things happen. CIA officers don't necessarily like the spotlight, and it's
Right.
not necessarily good for their work. So he's going to have to go to an office job or something. But yeah, Garris Kelly, people are going to like him because he's different, and there are a lot of big time characters out there. I think Matthew Court's The Night Agent starts out with a incident on a mass transit. Anyone who knows that story and those characters, the Reachers and the Bonds and the Raps and all those.
Mhm.
Garris Kelly is a little different kind of character. Tell us about Garris Kelly, who he is and how he goes about his business.
Yeah. Well, Garris, he is, he could be you, he could be me on the outside. Inside, he's self-assured. He's been there. He's done that. He's a warrior, but he doesn't come off that way. There's no ego to him whatsoever. And if someone takes him down a couple of notches, he goes with it. But he's very, very capable. He's just because he's done it. And but he also has a fondness for airplanes. He has a fondness for classic cars. He lives in 4 airplane hangars spread out across the country and has 4 suitcases of, depending on which weapon and which kind of clothing he needs for a particular job. He'll fly into this airport, he'll grab a suitcase, and off he goes to deal with things at hand. And what separates him, I think, is, yes, he's self-assured, he's a warrior, but he's very kind. He's very polite, but the one thing that will set him off is he looks out for the little guys, and there's a reason for that. But he will not put up with the bullies, so to speak. So yeah, the president might ask him for a favor, or the senator might ask him for a favor, or whatever. But that doesn't make any difference to him. But he will fight for the kid down the street or someone who can't help themselves, and that's he's going to go to bat for you.
Garris Kelly, folks out there doing the right thing for the right reasons with his particular set of skills. You must have had a lot of fun coming up with his setup, like you said, the suitcases in different places and what I need for certain missions. A lot of people call them the go bags or whatever,
Right.
Just depending on where you come from. What was your research like? It's like, oh, what should I put in this bag? What should all this stuff? Like, did you just let your imagination have fun with that and kind of think that if this was me, or that what would I do?
Well, yeah, that's it. I kind of like, okay, I grew up around airplanes. I know what a hangar feels like. Looks like. I've got that clear in my mind, and I also know what suitcases look like. And I know where to.
Sure.
And so it's like, what if we did this? And it just like, there's a lifestyle with aviation, and we did have, my family had an airplane, a couple of them, and we did have an MG. Well, we had a couple of MGBs. One my brother owned, and we had one for spare parts. So you can find so many different things in an airport hangar. So
I'd love to hear you tell the story about the one that you guys built.
well, my dad built a home built in our garage, and it took him a few years because back then, we just had to get the money together, and we like a family drive. He said, I had 3 brothers, and he said, get in the car. We're going to go for a country drive. Well, that ended up taking us to somewhere to buy an airplane part, and I shared I shared a bedroom with an airplane wing, and my brothers shared the other wing in their bedroom. And
that is the coolest. I love that. I listened to your episode where you talked about your book with a big friend of the Dossier, Terrence Leahy, on his Suit Up podcast. And when you said that about having an aircraft wing in your room, listen, folks, Gene Kelly knows about aviation. Okay, so you can take all the aviation stuff from the book and know that it comes from a real authentic place. That is so cool. And there's some really cool pictures of you on the writersdossier.com of you're sitting in this plane. It's so cool. And you fly a little bit, right? You go up?
Well, that's my brother's airplane. That's an RV-8, and he built that plane. And yeah, it's a beautiful airplane.
Did you guys paint it, or did it come red like that?
My brother did the whole thing. He
did the whole thing.
Yeah. And my dad also, he painted the plane. He built a Cougar, a Nesmith Cougar. So if you want to look that up online, I should probably.
There you go. The aviation enthusiasts know that Gene Koon knows what he's talking about here.
Well, I'm okay. So I want to add one more thing since we're going to go down this road. As far as aviation, there's a Experimental Aircraft Association. And that's where all the home builds get together, and they go to Oshkosh and they go to all these air shows. And back in the day, I don't think you can get away with it today, but there was a pageant, and my mother was the very first Mrs. AA,
which was a big deal.
That was a big deal back in the day. So for all you pilots out there with the EAA, go mom.
You bring a lot more authenticity to this book. And when you look at the cover, there's a wine glass on there as a reflection of something. Like you said, it ties into a scene. But you're also way into the Portland wine scene. You live out that way. You love a good Pinot. You don't have a wine glass at your desk when you're writing. You really think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
Okay, well, at some point, I'm going to have a wine glass in front of me in the day or evening. I don't know if the writing. I work on a laptop. How's that sound?
You can move around.
I don't want to spill any wine.
Exactly. So,
but yeah, that there will
people
be.
You just use your imagination of what was going on when this book was being written, and how Gene brought even more authenticity to it.
Yeah,
I want to cover something that is really extraordinary. We've had over 180 dossiers at thewritersdossier.com along with yours, and we've done a bunch of these interviews for the podcast, but no one has been to or talked about being at the Hague, being involved in the Slobodan Milošević trial, which, let me just throw out, life is difficult in Yugoslavia. I'll just throw that out there. You're welcome. That's a little nod to Am Adair, another writer on the dossier. She has a wonderful, just the crazy accents sometimes. So tell me a little bit about your work with the Hague and living in the Hague. How long were you there? What did you do? And how did you get hooked into the whole bicycle scene there?
Well, it's easy to fall into the bicycle scene. There's millions of bikes in Holland.
People don't understand. I mean, I lived in Germany and got way into the cycling scene too. So people in America here generally don't get it unless they've been over there or known somebody.
It's terrific. Yeah, I lived in The Hague, and if you ever go, a lot of people go to Amsterdam, but try The Hague. It's more relaxed. Amsterdam is more like a tourist town, it seems like. And it's wonderful. Yeah, please go. But The Hague is just, you can ride your bike throughout the city. You can go around people and they go around you. It's just like a wonderful feeling to take your bike and go anywhere downtown. into the country, you can ride your bike to Delft, you can go anywhere, to Hague. It's wonderful.
And you still ride your bike today almost, I'm not almost
Every day.
everywhere, but you do every day all over where you live, right?
Old habits are hard to give up. Yes, I ride my bike every day.
From a professional standpoint, what was it that you were doing there? Tell the folks what you were
Yeah,
doing with filming.
Well, I worked for the ICTY, which is the International Criminal Court for the former Yugoslavia. And my position was a video broadcast director. And what that means is, like, if the grandfather would probably be Nuremberg. Someone had to film those trials that you could see. And my job was to be the director of the trials of the daily courtroom procedures. So I would anything and everything. And some of the trials, like Milošević, I think his was 4 years. Radovan Karadzic was 5 years, I believe. General Mladic was 4 or 5 years. So I got to know the judges. I got to know the prosecutors and the defense attorneys. And every day, it was an experience of, you don't know what's going to happen in the courtroom. It could be documents, it could be closed protection. But my job basically was to capture it for the archives and also for the media, but also for the victims and the witnesses, to make sure they're safe and not to show them or allow their voices, if they're protected, to be aired, because that could cost them their lives. And that's very, very serious. So I went in thinking every day, make sure everything is done properly, but also direct a courtroom procedure that the victims' families could watch from wherever they're at, because it was broadcast over 30 different countries. And I wanted to make sure that the victims' families could understand, if they didn't know law, what's going on in the courtroom. So I wanted to tell a story, every single, hour. I wanted them to get it. And I would do that with reaction shots, or I just made it as simple as I could that they would understand it, because I didn't know what a, 92 tur was in the beginning, or this document or that. So I just wanted to tell a story.
Yeah.
So if you watch those, they're on YouTube as well.
Well, telling a story is something that you got some good experience with there, and now you've taken it to book form with Another Try. It's available right now for everyone to get their hands on. Definitely, folks, you're going to enjoy this, because, like Gene said, it's a different kind of character. He's fun, smart. The action is nonstop, and you still have time to breathe. So it's just not just. But Jeffery Deaver couldn't stop turning the pages. So that says a lot. And you're working on book 2. Some of the characters who survived this book make it into the next. Yes. So you're working on that. How far along are you on that? What can we look forward to?
I hope to get it out. Well, I don't want to put a time frame on it, but it'll be out next year.
We're next year. Yeah. All right, 2026.
So let's read the first one first, and then
well, yeah, this is a marathon for you. It's not a sprint. So, Gene, keep doing what you're doing, getting the word out there about this wonderful book, Another Try by Gene Koon. You can find it anywhere, and you can find out more about Gene Koon at thewritersdossier.com. Where do people find out about you besides your website, which is genekoon.com, GeneKoon? Any social media presence you should prefer?
Yeah, I'm at, I'm on X and Instagram and Facebook, and Gene Koon Books.
There you go, folks. So whatever social media platform you lean to, definitely connect with Gene Koon, find out what he's doing, follow along, because he's full of so much rich character and experiences. And he's poured this in his book for you and for us all to enjoy. And we're so happy to have you on and be part of the Dossier family.
Thank you, Jeff.
And thank you for joining us today. We'll see you around. Hey, are you going to BoucherCon?
I am.
Yes.
Folks,
Jeff. You can catch Gene Koon at BoucherCon this year in New Orleans. I can't wait to meet you in person. So looking forward to that.
Thank you, Jeff.
Gene, thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon.
Bye now.
Bye, everybody. The Dossier Podcast is a production of The Idea Academy.